November meeting for the Parks and Rec Board. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our October meeting? Is there a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tammy, announcements?
Announcements. Upcoming Board of Commissioners meetings will take place on Monday, November 12th and Monday, November 26th, here at 7 o'clock p.m. Public hearings on the 2013 preliminary budget will take place on Monday, November 12th and Sunday, November 18th at 5 o'clock p.m. All meetings, of course, will be right here in this room. We did have a preliminary or a first round hearing last night, actually here. And the good news is that under Parks and Recreation, all of the items seem to be in good standing at this point. So for those of you who tuned in, you probably got to see some of that information. The next Parks and Recreation Board meeting, of course, will take place on Thursday, December 13th here at the Township Building, 6:30 p.m. And then, most importantly, of course, the Recreation Board is going to hold a public meeting to hear the initial presentations of the Willows RFP proposers on Tuesday, November 20th, and that'll start at 5:30 p.m. here at the Township Building, right here in this room. A couple of other quick announcements. Registration is open for all of our fall and early winter programming, particularly Radnor Youth Basketball, of course, Griffin Volleyball, our winter break camps, and more information on other recreation programs that are available can be found at our website. The Township's winter newsletter edition is going to be mailed out just shortly after Thanksgiving, so look for those in your mailboxes. The Recreation Department's winter recreation activities brochure will be available and uploaded to the website in mid-December. Our PRPS discount ticket program still is going strong. We have tickets available to movie theaters, Camden Adventure Aquarium, and of course in January we'll have ski ticket destination resort tickets available. The Fall Craft Show is going to take place at the Willows Mansion on Friday, November 16th. That'll run through Sunday, December 2nd. The Wayne Business Association is going to have a tree lighting ceremony that'll take place on Friday, November 30th at 7:30 p.m. in Wayne. The Wayne Business Association will have their Santa Parade that will take place on Saturday, December 1st at 10 o'clock a.m. Radnor Fire Company will have its annual breakfast with Santa Claus, and that'll take place on Sunday, December 2nd from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock p.m. Our department's Holiday at the Willows annual event will take place on Sunday, December 9th from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. at the Willows Mansion. Our holiday lights and decorations contest, available for all of the residents and the businesses, will take place again this year, and we'll have entries and photos that will be accepted through Wednesday, January 2nd. And the new Radnor Mystery Dinner Theater event that we had planned just recently for October 27th actually got canceled. We are going to delay that event and have that rescheduled for Saturday, January 26th at 7 o'clock p.m. over at the Willows Mansion. So for more information on any of that information, always check out the website or call our department directly.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Why don't we roll into activity reports?
To give an update on a couple of great events that we had. October was a very busy month for us. Not only did it have some traditions that we have annually that we've had going on for many, many years, but also some new ones that we've started as well. One of the biggest, of course, was the Fall Harvest and Great Pumpkin Patch event that debuted for the first time on its rain date at the Willows, and we were very excited. So for those of you who attended, I appreciate it. We had a lot of members of the community that came out. I saw a lot of you guys there. We had probably close to 2,500 people, we calculated. We had a lot of assistance that came, of course, from our Public Works Department, and really it couldn't have been possible without them. One of the staple activities at the event, of course, were the tractor rides. which they provided, and all of our township staff actually drove the tractors and helped assist people on and off of the hay bale wagons that we created on the back of the lawnmower wagons. So it was really a terrific event. We're very proud of it. We think people in the community had a tremendous time. We had a lot of community organizations that were represented there, namely, of course, the Wayne Art Center, who helped us out a lot, in the Radnor Conservancy. They also brought along with them a number of volunteers who helped throughout the day. Not only did we have people over in the man-made pumpkin patch that we put together over in Skunk Hollow that helped us there, but also just from an overall event standpoint with managing people, managing the turnaround of the tractors, and just overall entertainment that was going on. It definitely was a huge effort on behalf of a lot of people who came together. And we had a tremendous day. The weather was really nice. It was like in the 70s. Our police department was a big help too. They helped us manage a lot of the traffic, a lot of the turnaround with the tractors as well, and just funneling people in and out of the park. So we know that there's some improvements that we can do for next year. We're going to work on those. As with any new event, there's always things that you see that you can do better. So we're going to take it as a great opportunity and a great staple event for the future that we're going to continue to build on and make it better and better. So you can see from the pictures, folks really had a great time. And we're very proud. I'm proud of my staff. We had a great bonding day with the Public Works Department, which we've never had in my tenure in working here, in terms of delivering an event together of this magnitude. And I think the members in the community, everybody was really happy. So lastly, I just want to thank all of our sponsors. We had a number of folks that were involved in this effort to be able to provide the funding and provide the support that was needed in order to have a successful event, and without them it wouldn't have been possible. And as I mentioned, next year we look forward to making it a lot better, and hope to keep people smiling during the fall time. So we also had the Radnor Run, as you guys know, is a really big event that takes place here every year. So I want to show you a little bit of a depiction on that as well. Not as nice of a day as the Fall Harvest Day, but it was very chilly and there was a lot of rain that morning. Once again, of course, an effort that brought together our police department and our Public Works Department in order to sustain its success, of course. And this is also a partner event that we do with the American Lung Association. So the Radnor Run, in its 35th year, of course, benefits the American Lung Association, who's been a very strong partner with us. So we had 792 registrants. We had 616 that actually came on race day, 176, of course, of the 1-milers. And fortunately, the rain stopped shortly after the race began, which was good. We wanted to make sure that everything was safe and folks had a good time. And most importantly, of course, folks hung around after the event, because we do a really great health fair for all of our sponsors who come out to be able to interact with all of the runners and all of the volunteers that make this event happen. We're also pleased that Cecily Tynan, of course, is our chair of our event. She was an MC actually and helped us out with a lot of the awards and everything during the ceremony that took place. We actually moved a lot of the things indoors here too, so we had a lot of folks who actually came into this room in particular where we did that ceremony that morning, and she was a big part of that. And as you can see, she actually won her age group too. She's a great runner, and so is her husband. He actually had a really great time there too and was first place there overall. So Agnes Irwin, I wanted to point out too, not only are they a great sponsor and contributor to the event, but they also, their team won the top trophy for the school in the event. And for the first time in a long time, Radnor Township had a team, which we're hoping to continue to build on as well in the future in terms of our employee wellness initiatives that we're trying to start as a department. So we were pleased to have the group that you see here with our superintendent, of course, and Andy Block, Tiffany Heilman, our program coordinator, Bob Tate, of course, our interim HR manager and assistant finance director, and his daughter, of course, participated as well. And it was really a tremendous event, so I want to take an opportunity to share that with you. Most of all, generated through sponsorships and registrations, about $80,000 came to benefit the American Lung Association. It was definitely a banner year for money that was collected for the charity. And we're going to look forward to continuing, of course, with that one in the future. It was a very busy October, actually, because we were also getting ready to have our annual trick-or-treat event that we do here at the Township Building. On Friday, October 26th, we opened up the Township Building. We had young trick-or-treaters come in and come through and go through all the departments, and they come in costume and go through the building with their parents. And it's really neat because they get to interact with all of the different departments that we have here in the building. And then just get a chance to see firsthand what we do. And then we also have some activities like pumpkin painting and things like that available for them as they come in. So it's always a great day. So busy October, and just busy planning, of course, as we head further into winter. So again, I just wanted to thank all the departments and staff and volunteers and sponsors that supported us. Just a couple quick other updates in terms of what's been going on with our department. We've been gearing up for the Radnor Youth Basketball Program, so registration's currently underway for that. We're working with a lot of our volunteers to assign league division volunteers, coaches, things of that manner, to work with the program and manage the program and help us facilitate it with us. We're working out gym time, which is a big part of what we do as well. The program relies heavily on the private schools for their facility space, as well as the public schools. So we're currently engaging all of those conversations. We're starting to plan, believe it or not, as far out as May of 2013 for new events and new activities that we have that are going to be going on. So a lot of that development has already taken place. So you're going to start to see some things that we'll have out and about already on some events that'll come up pretty deep into 2013. We have some neat things planned. We're looking at trying to maybe pull off a car show in May, something new we're trying to coordinate. We're also looking to do a fireworks and concert over at the Willows Mansion. So we keep reaching higher and higher. I'm pleased to say that in 2012 so far, we've seen sponsorship money double. It's up to about $17,000 right now, and that's something we continue to build on. I think that, involving the businesses and the organizations who've supported us and have been part of our development of our new events has been huge for our department. It's definitely been a big shift for us that we look to continue to work through. We also had a lot of time dedicated towards, of course, planning for our upcoming day camp program, believe it or not. We unfortunately had learned that we're going to be losing our day camp director for summer 2013. She's somebody who's been with us for 5 years. So right now we are actually eagerly working to fill that role. For anybody out there that's interested in becoming the Radnor day camp director, we are currently taking applications for that. We're also, we're just in the process, I worked with the staff to finalize a social media policy. The impact that it has on the recreation department is pretty big, as well as the other departments within the township. We plan to utilize social media, specifically Facebook, to be able to get information out about all of our programs and our events that we have that are going on. So that's something that we're working on. We're also going to use it for a lot of emergency notifications and things that would go out on behalf of the police department, the public works department, things on road closures, park restrictions, things like that we want to get out. One of the key pieces with the use of social media, for those of you who are familiar with it, we're going to keep it one way, which is why we're going to restrict it to the use of Facebook. And that's so that we don't enable any type of an open forum with the community. It will enable us to put information out, get information into people's hands, and hopefully reach some new markets as we go through that. So that's something that our department worked closely with the other departments in the township to develop, and the commissioners are actually going to see that at their November 26th meeting. Preparing for the storm, the Hurricane Sandy that took place back in late October was a huge deal for us and huge deal for the whole township, where it set up its emergency operations center here at the township building. Our department played a key role. We had staff that actually stayed on overnight to answer phone calls and process information on behalf of the township and the emergency operations that were going on. I know Mark's going to talk a little bit in a minute just about some of the impacts that we had to the park and the township. But it really was a collective effort. I think the residents overall have been pleased with the notifications and things that had gone out to keep them informed throughout the storm. It was unfortunate for the folks that lost power for so long throughout the process there. So I don't know if, Mark, if you want to talk a little bit about the parks, that would be great as far as the storm goes.
Yep, no problem. Everybody got a copy of it, and there's extra copies over here, whoever would like it. Great job by Tammy and her staff. We'll start with beginning here, the Parks Maintenance Division, Public Works. We also had a busy month and proceedings. I don't have to tell you. A couple of things. 2013 proposed budget. Requests were made in the capital budget for funds to redesign Clement Crone Park. The request is only design only, which would entail a placement for a new comfort station closer to the parking lot and Conestoga Road, moving and replacing existing playground equipment, demolishing the current comfort station, and resurfacing the tennis courts. Aside, we assisted the Boy Scouts. Thank you very much. Great job with a rain garden. So everybody was working together there and was very awesome. They worked very, very hard, and I'd like to thank you guys very much. Great job. It really turned out really well. So as far as the tennis courts in 2013, to resurface tennis courts at the comfort station and parking lot. Also request for 2013 to resurface the tennis courts and refinish the comfort station at Warren Philippon. The Public Works Department has offered assistance to any community group obtaining grants and installing rain gardens in appropriate locations in township parks, which is a great thing. I mean, with all the rain we've been getting and storms and everything else, I can't say anything else. We keep very busy. So the township has just awarded a contract for planting 31 trees, the Big Tree Program, within the township right away. This project is being funded by Chanticleer and spearheaded by Kimberly Donches of the Radnor Conservancy. Residents who had trees removed within the right-of-way by the township were contacted for a fee of $35. Were able to have 2 to 3 inch diameter trees, 6 foot tall, installed. We just got done with the new Cowan Comfort Station, funded by a DCNR grant, is complete and has been in use for some time. If not this fall, then next spring, a rain garden will be installed adjacent to the new structure. The new structure has a smaller and impervious, and is a prototype of future comfort stations in the township. As a request of the Shade Tree Commission, the township has retained service of an independent licensed arborist. The arborist, John Hoshbash, will be used to evaluate heritage trees and the residents feel are damaged or diseased and must be removed. He will provide an independent, objective report for the Shade Tree Commission to make an informed design regarding these trees. He will also be used by the township staff if questionable trees are found by the township properties or in right-of-ways. Aside from our normal grounds maintenance we perform, the Parks Maintenance Division is responsible for tree work done by the township. During our Hurricane Sandy, with assistance in some cases by a contractor, 37 trees were removed that were blocking streets. 14 trees from township parks and 19 from the Radnor Trail. 5 trees fell across the trail and were removed. To make sure the trail was safe, we brought in our certified arborists. After this inspection, another 14 trees were removed for everybody's safety. So it was a busy month also, as I saw. So, thank you. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Just a couple of other quick things I just wanted to acknowledge. With regards to rentals at Sulpizio, it was a really busy month. We had 13 rentals that took place there. We also had our electrician with the township, along with our public works staff, replace all of the larger light fixtures that are up there in the facility. We had many of those that had gone out over the years, and we feel great about the significant lighting improvements that have been made over there at the facility. So all the bulbs and the ballasts actually were replaced throughout October. We're gearing up for, of course, the busiest time with basketball season coming very quickly, so we're very pleased that that work took place and want to thank them, of course. Also, just at the Willows Mansion, 4 events were held in October. 18 are going to be on board for November, including, of course, the craft show, as I had mentioned earlier. I also provided you in your packet with a summary of the picnic rentals that had occurred throughout the 2012 season. We're pleased to say that picnic rentals were up 27% higher from 2011 to 2012, so I wanted to give you that depiction so you had that. We were pleased to see the improvements there. with regards to the rentals that have been taking place in the picnics. And as always, of course, encourage folks to take part in those and get out and enjoy the picnics, the picnic areas, of course, throughout the township. And that concludes our report for October.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Why don't we go roll right through the various reports, Shade Tree?
Just very quickly of import to this committee here was the last Shade Tree Commission was dealing with the work that Cabrini College has been working with the various boards in the township concerning their plans for a parking structure. Has been redone, modified somewhat, went back, and it's currently right now in with the Planning Commission. They're lowering that parking structure and having some effect on the tree planting there, but it really is with the Planning Commission right now, and I just want to bring you up to speed on that. In addition to some other items with residential trees, I think Mark mentioned the important thing is the hiring of a part-time arborist, which is important not only for Parks and Rec grounds, but also for the township. That's basically it.
Thank you. School Board, Chuck?
Well, we're in the process of looking for a new superintendent, and we're putting together different community groups. I'm not quite sure what the process will be, and just as, since I've been on this board, I've realized the connection that there needs to be between the schools and the Park and Recreation. So if the board here would like me to, I could ask, because we have a meeting coming up in about a week or so, if they do select people from different boards, different committees, whether the Park and Recs Board would want to be one of those. If there's any interest shown here to have somebody else besides the school board people who are on this board. I think it's great for us to be on it, but we're a little different than you guys. I don't mean that in a, I'm not, we have our own piece of what we're doing on the school board, and you guys have been on the Park and Recreation Board and know more about what the issues that you would like to see a superintendent be able to deal with as far as Park and Recs go. So I'd like to ask if you want me to bring that forward to our school board, and if there's an interest in someone, if they decide to go in that direction, because I think it's what we're looking for is different segments of the Radnor Township population. Could be like the business people, could be people on the board, PTOs, different groups. If there's an interest, I'll bring it forward.
Is the school board looking for volunteers from various township and or other boards within the community, or?
Well, we have not selected the
criteria, or?
No, the actual person. We're going out for a search.
No, I know.
So we have to, we're picking somebody within the next couple of weeks. At that point, I'll know more of what the framework would be.
Okay.
But while we're making that selection, if this particular board thinks it would be important to have organizations looking at this, and I believe it is, or I wouldn't have brought it up.
Right.
Then I'll bring it forward and say, let's consider a park board, because the Park and Recreation use so much of the school facilities that this is an opportunity for us to strengthen the relationship that we have. So
We can certainly
yeah, we can discuss it later.
discuss
when
that
there's more
internally,
things
or
come
have
up.
some, have some discussion. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Chuck.
Yep.
Committee reports? EAC?
EAC had a meeting October 25th. Nothing really of import for this board from that meeting. I might ask the guys, though, since they helped the township install that rain garden, can one of you guys maybe talk 2 minutes for us and tell us what a rain garden is and what the benefits of it are?
I'm sorry, you weren't the ones that were.
Oh, you weren't the ones that were doing that. Okay. Different Boy Scouts. If you could, just a couple quick minutes.
Yeah, you need to come up to the microphone.
Rain gardens are basically a way to make sure that rivers do not erode and that wildlife has a safe place to go and repopulate. And it's like for any animals that are native to Radnor would go there and be less impacted by the various amount of invasive plants around here, like burning bush and mile a minute, which are crippling the populations of some plants in the area that they might think as food or something. But yeah, the person that made the river garden or rain garden in Clamacrone was Neil Overbeck, and I think, what troop was that, Declan? He also installed water logs into the river, which is, if it's a polluted area, the water logs are like logs in the river that have slits in them that will catch debris and take it out of the stream flow. And it doesn't completely remove the process, but it makes it easier to gather up trash from the stream, and all in all, it also filters the water somewhat and just makes it so the flow is constant and more regulated, which would help with Hurricane Sandy just happening. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Hey, Julian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for stepping up. Your older brother there has to stay in his chair there, so we appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Chris. Commissioners, no report. Why don't we jump down to old business, and why don't we touch on the Willows RFP process and review? Tammy, want to just touch on that real quick?
Sure, I do. I just wanted to remind everybody on the board that on Tuesday, November 20th, you will be heading up the initial process to begin examining the Willows RFPs that have come in. There are 9 of them that have been scheduled starting at 5:30 p.m. Those will begin here in this room. They'll be 20 minutes each. As we had discussed back at our October meeting, it would be very high level. We've asked them if they want to come and bring a presentation or any handouts or any materials. They're more than welcome to. All 9 are in accord and are on board, so they will be here. So if you haven't had a chance yet to review any of the materials that have been submitted by each of the proposers, you're more than welcome to come into the building here. We can give you hard copies to take with you if you want to take a closer look at those on your own. You can also view those. They're up at the website at radnor.com, of course, under the featured news section in the center. And we'll make sure that they get top billing as well, especially since the meeting is quickly approaching. So we're thrilled to begin that process, as I hope you guys are too.
How many hard copies do you have available? I know there's one floating around and kind of being bannered around the board. I know Andy, briefly.
I have
Mike has a chance. I've had a chance.
I have it now.
Jim's got it. You do have a set? Okay.
We had received 12 total, so
Have
there's
you-
extras here if anybody
Are you
wants to
done
come in
with
and
yours,
grab
Pat?
them.
Not really. I'd like to finish up some more things.
Can you kind of take a look at yours, and maybe, is there anybody else, Joe? Well, actually, I think
Mine's
Jim's
going to
going to go
Joe
to
on
Joe.
Monday.
Chris, do you want to take a peek?
We had
Tammy's
12.
got
12 were
extras.
submitted originally, so I know we still have a lot of extras, so you're more than
If I
welcome to
print it off
come
the
in.
website, do I pretty much have everything?
You do, unless something is a certain size, because I
Okay.
know some of the documents were
So you're
11
good?
by
Okay.
17s, and they're probably difficult
Chuck,
to
have you had a
print.
chance? And maybe check with,
It is.
okay. All right, great, super.
A lot of the hard copies are in color and very vibrant, and they're bound, and I think it'll give you a good experience if you want to, like I said, just stop in and
Okay.
we have them up in the manager's office. We can make sure you get those.
Okay.
So make sure you take a look at that. We also had some dialogue at the last meeting, just briefly about some of the codes items. I know there were some questions that were raised. We had Mr. Kachansky, of course, that was here, Mr. Norsini. There's a memo, as you have requested, that was provided by Mr. Rice, so I included that in your packet. What I encourage you to do is take a look at that, and for any information, questions, or comments that you might have, please send those to me in an email, and I appreciate that.
Okay. Kevin's not here. Any development with the lights regarding the Radnor Memorial Field?
As of right now, the lights, I know, he's working on a rewrite as per the Planning Commission, they asked him to go back and redraft the ordinance that he was preparing about the lights with some more specific details in terms of the technical pieces, the heights, the light standard heights and things of that nature. And he had worked closely with Agnes Irwin to come up with what those details were. He's in the process of rewriting that. It's my anticipation that, based on my conversation with Kevin, that the Planning Commission will see that again in January. And that was the timeline that he had given to me whenever we spoke about it this week.
Just curious, when was the last time he was in front of the Planning Commission to have that discussion?
I believe,
September?
It was, I think it was September,
So
August or September.
So it's been a while. That's something that we need to get moving. And I don't know if I'm the only one beating that drum, but that was one of the things that really kind of made this project work for the township, and the usage of the township for that field was after Agnes Irwin was going to be utilizing that field, which was during 3 to 6 ballpark time frame. We're now through the fall, we're going into the winter, and that's something we really need to get Kevin to get through. We need to get him in front of the Planning Commission. We need him to get in front of the Board of Commissioners. We need to get Nick and Agnes Irwin on board, because that's something we need to really get pushed and move forward. Because that's a field that we made a lot of concessions, and we got the sports community group, and they got on board and pushed, and we got to get that going. Because, I mean, technically, they're in violation of the lease, not having the lights. Now, I know there's, some ordinances that need to be checked and so forth, but there doesn't seem to be any urgency, doesn't seem to be any movement on that, and we need to get that moving. So
I will certainly follow up with Kevin on that, and I will talk to him about getting that language rewritten and get to the Planning Commission as quickly as possible and see if they can move that up.
at the least, could we get Kevin to maybe update us on the progress and the status of where that is for our next meeting?
I can ask him to come
That'd be
into the
great.
next meeting.
I mean, I don't necessarily need him to come. He can just
Maybe-
furnish an update or some type of dialogue as to where we are, what the status is, where are we with this? Because, the turf is in, there's no lights, and the township really is not being able to utilize and benefit from that facility. And you know what? It was a great idea, great concept, but the only one that's really being able to utilize it is Agnes Irwin, and that's really not what the end all of that concept was supposed to be. So, anybody have any comments or thoughts on that? Okay. New business, cellular phone towers. You want to touch on that briefly, Tammy?
Yes. First of all, I just want to say that there's no proposal for a cell tower currently for a township park or a township facility. I just wanted to have a conversation about it tonight briefly, just to sort of talk to you a little bit to say, if there was to be any type of further discussion. We know that there has been some in the past. Back in 2005, I think there were some conversations that were had with some local companies that manage this sort of thing on behalf of cellular service providers. I know that's something that we'd like to continue to discuss as a possibility. I want to have an open dialogue with this board about it, because I think it's something that greatly impacts our parks and our facilities from a variety of standpoints. I guess, what I'd like to do is kind of just pick your brain a little bit tonight and see if there would be any opposition from this board to evaluate having any type of a cell tower in any of our parks. Obviously, the location would be key to that, I would think. There's some parks that would be more palatable than others for the community to be able to have such a thing. But when we take a look at things like some of the benefits that might ensue as a result of having a tower in a park where it can be tucked away, we see annual revenues that the township could potentially generate that could be, anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000, as well as perhaps ongoing park improvements to roadways, to facilities, to infrastructure, and things like that. So, I guess I'm not looking for a recommendation or any type of a movement, but just was kind of curious what your opinion was with regards to having a cell tower in particular parks.
Who's initiating the discussions? Is it the township? Is it the cell companies? obviously cell service has come a long way. I mean, in the last 10 years, I mean, you used to drive by the Willows and you couldn't hold a call. But now, you can drive through there and it's not a problem. But I'd just be curious as to who's initiating the discussions and what the thoughts are there.
Well, I don't want to be quoted, but I believe that we've had them reach out to us
Okay.
and search and look for those opportunities, particular companies nearby that manage those type of, like the land acquisition and manage the lease development on behalf of the certain providers. But I do want to acknowledge, though, that in my experience, in my conversations with folks throughout the township, that there still is a significant communications issue in areas near the Willows. Particularly once you get back into Skunk Hollow and the trailways, and even at the Willows Mansion, I know that there's some service providers that you may have. You're not going to have a ability to talk there at the mansion. And that's been pretty consistent feedback that we've had over the years. So, obviously one benefit could be to address the communications inabilities that perhaps exist, obviously those that impact, health and safety and things like that could occur, and we have a lot of recreation in that area. But as I mentioned before, too, I think there might be some financial benefits and improvement benefits that could come along with that.
Okay.
Tammy, do I recall in the past year, I'm not sure what committee, but there was someone, a cell phone provider, approached committee that, I think it was over by 320, they were talking about tucking in some towers there. I don't know, what committee does that go to first?
Well, it definitely would be something I want to see this board have some input towards. I think that's very, very important in the interests of what you guys stand for. But the Cable Communications
Okay, maybe
Committee,
it
I think,
started
would
there,
be,
then planning.
would be key. Planning, and then, of course, ultimately the commissioners.
As for personally your request, I think, you would always want to consider something that may have a benefit to Parks and Rec as long as the benefits outweigh the negatives to it. You wouldn't want to put a cell phone tower on home plate, needless to say, but if there is something that financially could benefit the township, I would consider it, and then weighing it against the disadvantages.
I think also the aesthetics of it's going to be important too. What exactly this looks like, and not only the location, but how, intrusive is it to the park area or where it is going to be very important as well, I think.
Well, I know there are ways to dress them up to make them look like trees and silos and all kinds of interesting things.
I'm just thinking, where I used to live, they had a church put up a flagpole, or they put flags at the top and tried to have them zoned as flagpoles when they were really these big cell towers, and it was a big pushback. So I think some kind of sort of idea about the aesthetics would be important.
Tammy, my guess is that any cellular provider who's approaching us probably has some kind of white paper, position paper to show the benefits of having a tower, both financial for the township as well as addressing any health concerns that somebody might have having a tower out there. And what might be helpful is to ask them for that information so it can be passed around to this board and we can do some reading on it, and also maybe to identify what you think would be, a half dozen areas within our parks that would accommodate having a tower like that, so that way we've got some tangible information to have a conversation about.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think the health issue information we might want that to come from another source than the cellular tower providers. That's
You get one piece from them, and
right.
we'll do some of our own search as well. But that's going to be a question that'll come up in the community.
Absolutely.
Tammy, are there existing cell towers of a similar design in Radnor right now?
There's one in Radnor.
Radnor Valley Country Club.
And is there an ordinance in the township that outlines, when that one was put in, for instance, was that in conformance to, or did it have anything to do with an ordinance that exists?
You know what, I'm not aware. I'd have to look into that.
Just wanted to thank you.
I just, for full disclosure, we at the school board are against the cell tower that's at the firehouse right now, making it bigger due to the fall zone and different things like that. And I think there is some kind of an ordinance, because there has to be so many feet away from property lines and different things like that. So that could be where we're getting some of the people approaching other places within the township, because we felt as a school board, it would be more conducive to have it someplace else. We didn't want it, because we have so many children that are there,
Right.
the health concerns, although I didn't get a white paper about what the health concerns were. It was, at this point, too close to the property lines. So we are working against it.
So Chuck,
Okay.
does the school board have an objection based on anything other than just that property line guideline?
Well, the aesthetics of it, the fall zone, it changed since the last one was put up. It's very close to our property line. And it really just has the one tower that goes up, and it's not really that noticeable, and they were going to put more equipment up on the top.
But
and-
it's a visual.
Yeah, it was
It's visual.
visual, but there were other reasons why other people objected to it on the board, so we joined in. I guess I went to the zoning hearing board and said, we don't want it, my understanding.
Okay, thank you. Tammy, you'll keep us posted as things kind of progress, and, if there's any information that you can forward to this board, we'd certainly love to be able to see it and review and kind of weigh in our comments and thoughts.
Excellent. I appreciate you taking the opportunity to talk about it tonight.
You want to touch on the Recreation Department fee schedule recommendations?
Yes. The fee schedule that we will be recommending will be on December 17th. Right now, I'm continuing to work through that process in terms of constructing our fee schedule. Without getting into a whole lot of detail about it tonight, I do plan to return to this board at the December meeting to give you more clarification on exactly what we'll be recommending. I can say right now that my intent will be to go back in the fee schedule and present and reintroduce the adult softball and soccer field fees that were omitted back in February of 2012. So those are something that I'm currently working on. I know we had some dialogue in September about park area tennis court fees that we discussed. I know that there was a lot of input and questions about that. What I'd like to do is look at those and revisit those as well. I feel strongly about a couple of those fees that I perhaps may like to recommend, of course, with some of your continued input. My intent will be to send something around to you prior to that December meeting so you can take a look at that. We'll also evaluate with regards to the Willows, extending the nonprofit rate, which currently exists for Monday to Friday rentals to a full week, just to increase the ability to be able to get more groups in there and not preclude those for those nonprofit groups that normally we tried to keep out of the weekend time, which was typically reserved for the weddings and the higher paid functions. I think with the facility closing down to rentals on August 31st of 2013, we want to try to maximize as much as we can within that facility. Otherwise, within the Willows, there were no other proposed changes that I was going to put forth. The only other change was going to be relative to the birthday party program at the Radnor Activity Center at Sulpizio Gymnasium. We were going to bump some of those fees up as well that you would see. So if you have concerns about fees, that are within our fee schedule that you think, hey, you might want to go back, you might want to take a look at this, you might want to take a look at something at the Willows a little differently or one of the other facilities, just send me your email and comments if you feel that way. Otherwise, I will reach out to you about some of my recommendation changes that I have in advance of our meeting and then present those to you on the December 13th meeting and get a recommendation from you.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts or comments?
Tammy, you're not suggesting on the December meeting that you're going to submit the proposed fee schedule for our reaction, are you?
I was hoping to, yes.
Could you supply it to us a couple weeks
Yes.
before so that then we'd have the opportunity to review it and
Yes.
and dialogue among ourselves?
Yes. I will make sure you have that in advance so that you can take a look at that and prepare any questions. And then if there's further dialogue that may have to take place, then we can have that then. Thank you.
Tammy, based off of historical records and what you know in the past, implementing these new fees, do we have a total dollar volume that we can estimate or guess that we're going to get by putting these new fees in for a year? Or
For the park fees that I had discussed Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and the fees
softball
for, yeah, softball fees, the soccer fees, the private school fees, those types of things. Overall, what's the total number we expect to gain?
Yes, I can take a look at that. I can go back and look at, well, first of all, there's a calculation right now that I can provide you with that will tell you as a result of the $15 fee that we had put in place for some of the restricted groups and private school groups. I can give you a dollar amount on what that's going to look like as a projection across the year. As well as if we come back and we implement a softball fee, and here's what it is, I can tell you based on the past usage what I anticipate that would look like. Now the park fees or tennis court fees, which we've never had in the past, would be a little bit more of an arbitrary number based on requests and sort of community input throughout the year on what I've had and what I would project just as a basic guess on who I think would use the facility for those purposes out of the course of a year. So I could prepare that as well and send that to you.
That'd be great.
Anybody else? Okay. Radnor Trail, reminder of recommendations for usage.
Yes, with the, obviously with a lot of discussion about the Radnor Trail recently, it was closed down during the hurricane. What I wanted to do is take it as an opportunity just to draw some attention to our trail etiquette and safety guidelines that we have out on our website, as well as a document there that you have tonight. I put in your packets. I wanted to revisit that. I just wanted to make sure that folks are aware that they should be staying alert at all times when they're out on the trails. I think it's really important. We've actually had some folks reach out to us with concerns that they want to make sure folks that are walking along the Radnor Trail with their headphones on, that they're aware that there may be a biker that's coming up alongside of them, and or other runners or joggers that could potentially cause some type of an issue there that we wouldn't want to see happen. So we wanted to remind folks about that. We wanted to remind them, pick up their trash, put their bottles in the trash receptacles. I think that's real important. If you're walking a dog, please make sure you're cleaning up after it. We still have been getting complaints about those sorts of things along the trail. So we wanted to take it as an opportunity just to remind folks. We know how heavily utilized and popular the trail is, and just want to make sure that folks are being safe. We also were made aware that there's some high-speed riders going along the trail, and want folks to be aware of those, and they should obviously be riding at an appropriate speed, and if they're approaching a pack of walkers or runners, they should definitely slow down. They should not be going quickly through that facility, or even for that matter using it as a cut-through to get to other roadways. So again, just want to take an opportunity to recognize the trail, its heavy usage, and that we want folks to be mindful of their responsibilities when they utilize that facility.
Okay, great. Anybody have any thoughts or comments? Anything else under new business? Anything else under old business?
The only other item under old business, if you'll remember at the last meeting, Mr. Kachansky, our Community Development Director, was here. He came to talk about a proposed ordinance amendment to the subdivision and land development ordinance that we have here at the township, basically to establish regulations for mandatory dedication of park and recreation lands, construction of facilities, or a fee in lieu of for dedication of such lands. What I wanted to point out tonight in your packet, you have a clipped piece of paperwork there, a packet of paperwork that includes that ordinance, which I'd like you to review, as well as some supplemental information that he has provided to give you guys a little bit more background and information. There's a calculation summary in terms of how a lot of that comes together. There's also an analysis that he performed for some of the adjacent municipalities in terms of what park and recreation land ordinance they have. He also has copies of those too that he can provide if those are needed, but a lot of those are located at those townships' corresponding websites. There's also the PA Municipalities Planning Code detail. There's a sheet in there that I provided that talks about the provisions that the municipalities planning code actually has relevant to this ordinance. There's certain provisions and regulations that they have set forth that we've incorporated into our ordinance. This document, so you know, was, just for a little bit of background, it was reviewed at the September Board of Commissioners meeting. They asked for your input. They asked for planning to take a look at this as well. So that's why this was brought before you, so that you could take a look at that, generate some questions, concerns. Obviously, we'd like to get a recommendation. If it's premature right now to do that, I'd like to get that in December, get an understanding of your position on that. There's obviously, I think, some benefits to some of the parks and to the township as a whole that can provide. So as far as the expectation on that process, that's what I would like to see. I know the commissioners are looking for that input as well.
I took a look at this, and I have one suggestion. Section 1E, 3, C as in Charlie, A, which is page 4, talks about the limitation on the use of fees. And sub-item A says any recreation fees collected under this section, so on and so forth, shall be placed into a separate account and so forth. I believe that the commissioners have the ability to move money from reserve funds to other reserve funds as they feel are necessary given the particular circumstances facing the township. As a result, I would suggest amending A to add to the end of that paragraph from other township funds and shall be used exclusively for recreation activities. To repeat, and shall be used exclusively for recreation activities.
I believe the municipal planning code indicates that. I can look into that. I think I remember Kevin saying something to that extent, that there is a requirement that it does have to be used for recreational purposes. So we'll make sure that language is clear and that recommendation gets forward along. I know there's also a window on which the funding, if there is money that's given, needs to be used. Otherwise, it has to be returned to the developer with interest. I think it's like a 2 or 3 year window that we have to use that. And I know we have a lot of projects where that wouldn't be difficult to do.
Okay. Anybody else?
So if you could take a look at that.
Yep.
If anybody has any further questions, comments, anything, you could ask me now. We could forward those. You could forward those on to me, and we'll work through that process.
Look to try and bring it back up on in for December.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Tammy, I just have one question. Would it be possible to look into these other places that have put this in place and see what has happened there? In other
Like
words,
the improvements and what have
yeah,
you
the
that have been made.
improvements, how much money it generated, did it have any kind of a negative impact on development? Was it a positive impact? Just a little bit, so that we know what the effect has been in other places. 'Cause
Yes.
there's been a lot of places that have it in there. Just would be helpful to see.
Okay,
Thank
we'll do
you.
that.
Thanks, Chuck. Anybody else? Is there a motion to adjourn? Excuse me, any public participation? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned.